Hello and welcome to the first math lesson designed to give VLA students some additional help as they work through their math classes at the VLA. Along with the short math lessons, I plan on doing some health and fitness videos later on, so stay tuned for that. If all goes as planned, my videos should be dropping on Facebook on Mondays. With that said, the first lesson we're going to do is going to be called solving two-step algebra equations. You will first see two-step algebra equations in your math strategies class. This concept will come up several times as you work throughout your algebra classes at the VLA, and you'll need some of this in your geometry classes as well. So it's very important to make sure you have a good understanding of how to solve these. Before we solve two-step algebra equations, I want to first touch on solving one-step. The reason why we call this a one-step algebra equation is due to the fact that it only takes, yes, you guessed it, one step to solve. So if we look at the given problem that I have right now, 2x equals 10. What does that mean? That means 2 times some number equals 10. We might be able to do this in our head, which most of you should be able to. Thinking of 2 times what number equals 10, obviously that number is going to be 5. But to solve that algebraically, let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get rid of the 2 in front of the x. Since this is going to be multiplied, we want to take the inverse operation of that. The inverse operation of multiplication is division. So in order to solve this, I want to divide both sides by 2. In order for the equation to stay balanced, whatever I do to one side of the equation, I must do to the second side of the equation. I can multiply the left side by 1,000. If I multiply the right side by 1,000, that still maintains that equation to be equal. So after I divide both sides by 2, obviously 2x divided by 2 is just your x, and that is our goal. The goal is to get x by itself. And if I do 10 divided by 2, that is 5. Now a good way to check to make sure we have the correct answer is take your x and plug it back into the original equation. So I could do 2 times 5, and if that equals 10, we have the correct solution, which 2 times 5 does equal 10. So that checks out. Alright, with that quick introduction to solving one-step algebra equations, let's go ahead and move on to solving two-step algebra equations. Obviously, the only difference is for these is you're adding an extra step to solve. So the first thing we want to do when we solve these, we need to remember to isolate our variable. So the first thing I want you guys to focus on is getting rid of anything that's added or subtracted to the same side with our variable. So what I'm circling here is our variable side. Why is the variable side? Because here it is right here. So the object is to get x equals to something. Right now I have 3 getting multiplied by x, and I'm adding 5 to that side. So obviously it's not isolated. So the first thing you want to do is get rid of anything that's added or subtracted. So to do that, if I have a plus 5, remember I take the inverse operation of that. So instead of adding 5, to get rid of that 5, I'm going to go ahead and subtract 5 from both sides. Once I do that, I'm just left with my 3x on the left side and 12 on the right. So this should be similar to the last step, or the one we just did before, or to isolate the x again, I'm going to have to divide both sides by 3. So on the left side of the equation, I'm left with just my x, and then 12 divided by 3 is 4. Remember, after we get that answer, we can go ahead and plug that back into the original equation to double check to see if we got that correct. That's a beautiful thing about algebra, is you should never get the answer wrong. Because after you plug it in, if it doesn't equal to it, you screwed up something. Either your math, or divided, or multiplied. So this becomes 3 times 4 plus 5. If that equals 17, then we're good. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 5. So you should get 17 equals 17. Alright, hope that helps.